What's going on? Just figured I'd give you guys an update. First off, I want to say to all the new subs, thank you. This is my 1974 260Z I've had since 2009. Put in an L series in it before, well, 2 L series, and now I got a 2JZ in there. Let me give you guys a little progress update. So what I've been doing so far, I've been messing with my main chassis harness. It's a Speedway 12 circuit. So trying to go in between that and however the Datsun was wired up so it can perform lighting wise like a would-be stock. That's what I've been trying to figure out now. I have the aft end or the tail end all wired up and everything, so this is all good to go. All LED bulbs swapped back there and everything. And the loom it's not carried up in the stock location, but it's pretty much in the same place as it would be from the factory. Let's see if I can focus lighting on. Okay, and then here's my flex fuel sensor stuff. I got the pigtail for the flex fuel sensor. I'll figure out a place where to put it later on, but I got the flex fuel sensor here so I can run E85 at some point in the future. So these 3 wires, the purple, the pink, and the white, the GM sensor. So I try to match that color there. So those are all going to be going to my Mega Squirt. One of these is my fuel pump. I believe this deep red, the red by itself is my fuel pump, and then these are for the dome light. So I'm going to wire that in as well so I can have, like again, I said, stock wiring. So the passenger carpet is in. I just have my loom hanging out here in its stock location. And then this will get held in by the little track plate. The dash is in. Blower motor, I swapped that out for, I think, a Hyundai Sonata. I took a little video on that. Maybe I'll post it. I put a cork gasket around it so I can properly seal. Let's check out my gauges. So I've had that Sport Comp boost gauge for a while. The stock fuel gauge and the ammeter, because I think that's cool. For my wideband, I'm going to be running the MTXL. I was running the LC1 a couple years ago, and that was awesome. The LC1 never really gave me any troubles. So I'm going to try this MTXL, see how that works. So you have your little digital readout, and it has the sweeping as well. So with my speed on my tack, I swapped in some speed huts. These are 4-inch. I didn't gut out the old tachometer and speedometer. I just pretty much took some screws and held them in there. They're in there tight, but yeah, so it's in the stock location. So, and yes, my tack is slightly cant because it's a race car. It also has the turn signal and headlight indicator. Here's the GPS sensor here. And then you can also hardwire that GPS sensor to your battery so it's always running so you never lose signal from satellite. So as soon as you start going, you can start reading your speed. At this point, this harness right here just will go to my headlight switch, my ignition, and my little dimmer switch here. Try to retain the stock cluster here. My headlight switch blew out a couple years ago because Datsun, from the factory, they never had a headlight relay. All that power went right to the switch. And if you're running anything more than a 30 amp alternator, you're gonna fry out your headlight switch. I had to do the headlight modification with the relays. It took a lot of the power away from the switch. But at that point, the switch is already done. So I have an aftermarket switch here. Oh, those cheapo little things from O'Reilly's, but I've had that and it's worked for a couple of years. So the dash and everything's all good to go. Solid mount. Carpet's done. With those cool air ducts, I took those out a couple of years ago so I can make room for the intercooler piping. So I'm not using those ducting anymore, but I am using it for my wire looms. So you can't see anything. There's no wire looms. But yeah, if you come in here, they're all tucked away right where I took that little valve out. It was a nice little quirky thing that the Datsun did, but so I haven't had that feature in a long time. The little 12 circuit fuse panel. I'll have to figure out how to mount that properly, not just zip tying or having to flop around. And then as for the engine, so moving up to the fuel rail, I drilled and tapped my fuel rail as well, so I have a return because stock these are returnless. So I have a return now. It goes all the way to my fuel pressure regulator, tucked away over here. Not on the firewall, way out of the elements. Plus, that's where the windshield wiper bottle will go. I haven't had that in a long time. Plus, I don't drive this in the rain. So these are 1000cc injectors from RC. They mounted right up. I just swapped out the O-rings and everything, and yeah, they're nice. They're solid. Definitely not going to leak. In regards to my wire loom here, it goes all the way to my starter. Pretty simple. Here's my battery cable. I had to order a new one. This battery cable is 56 inches. So from the positive terminal all the way down, this 2 gauge, it's a Durablast. This goes in these loom holders. Pretty much matches whatever the IS300 does, because I know their battery's over here, but their positive terminal's right around there somewhere. The battery's flipped. Datsun's, they don't really give you that much room for that back there, so I'll retain it. You have negative here and positive there. For my negative, you guys can tell me whether I'm a moron or not. I wanted to bolt my negative, but right to the end of this bolt, because there's a threaded little end on the end of that mount bolt. And you guys think that's a stupid idea, or should I just mount this straight to the block? I mean, this is already here. All I gotta do is put a nut on there. What would be best for that? You guys could please help me out there. My fan. This is a little custom shroud. I just bought some 50 thousandths aluminum from eBay. It was like $30 shipped. It was nice. Big sheet. I had plenty left over as well. So I had my fan shroud mounted up. And this is a Spall fan I bought a couple years ago, but the Spall fan was just way too big for the L series because the L series sat maybe like 5 or 6 inches forward. I could never fit that guy because the water pump was smacking it. And here's a headlight relay I'm retaining. Here's the fan relay here, fan sensor and the sender and all that. I did not modify this. Speedway they offer, it's about 6 inches long and it has your 3/8 NPT bung welded already, and that was like $30 from Summit. And here's my solution. I'm trying to run the stock pigtails as much as possible. So on here, I couldn't find any videos on here, so hopefully this helps. It's labeled out so you can see like where the little tabs are that guide that you can plug on there. So your sense, your ignition, and then your lamp. So S, I, G, and L. So from there, on the Speedway, here you got your alt power, and then you have your 12 volt switched from your ignition. Please let me know if I'm doing this wrong. With the S, the sense, I'm running that, and this is it's white blue for the IS300. Thankfully, I bought some, white blue as well. So with the sense, I'm going to run that to a little fuse holder and run that to my positive terminal, because I guess that's where you need to run. You got to run it to the closest positive terminal. I could have wired it up in line with these guys, so with the fan and the headlight relays, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to run it to the post so it could sense the actual battery voltage being charged. And with the cable going back, this is just the leftover cable I had from the IS300 that goes all the way to the starter. So it's not following exactly how the IS300 is wired up, because you have a battery cable directly to the alternator. But I'll have a 2-gauge cable to the starter, from the starter to the alternator. So hopefully that'll make its chain that it needs to properly charge the battery. I'm following the Speedway universal harness, and if that doesn't work, then of course we'll figure it out, hence Project Car. And then with the IS300 loom, I was chopping that up pretty damn good. Just taking away everything that I need for Mega Squirt, essentially. This is from a Nissan pickup for my throttle position. This is the old coolant sensor. I swapped in the coolant sensor from a Prius. A little bit nicer. It's not as many miles on it. These are getting harder to find. This is from a GM old V8. So luckily I was able to find a 94 Cadillac DeVille in the junkyard. It has like a 4.9 liter V8. This is your intake air temp sensor. These are good for boosting, for pressure and everything. Mega Squirt guys love these shits. I mean, these are what, like $7 at the junkyard? These are increasingly getting harder to find because they're using those ones that just plug right into the plastic plenums. Those are not for boost. You need to use these ones that just screw directly to the cast aluminum intake manifolds. So here's another coolant pigtail here. You can see throughout the years they're still using brown as ground, which is kind of cool for Toyota. My cam and crank pigtails, these are all shielded and everything, so which is good for the crank sensor because I think it's a VR sensor, and VR sensors require the shielding all the way through, and I took this directly out of the IS300, and this already has the shielding. Then of course my injectors, and then with these I got to run resistors. Let me show you these. I ordered a little bit more than I needed, but this is the size, I guess, from the Mega Manual. That's what they requested or required for injectors. They 1 to 3 ohm injectors require these resistors. Yeah, those I'll just have to put on a little piece of aluminum, like a little heat shrink. This is a leftover aluminum sheet. I'll chop 2 pieces, stack them together, and then I'll bolt those resistors onto there so it has a proper little heat sink. And it's cool about those resistors too because I have convection cooling fins. So here, what I did with my headlights, so I can swap the bulbs out. So they're not the sealed Sylvanias. So I can swap the bulbs out, but it looks stock. It doesn't have like the weird little projectors on there, which is awesome. But I just think they look silly in my car, so I'm not going to put them in there. So I have an LED bulb and a scatter beam, so you'll be able to see me. Absolutely, it'd just be blinding everyone. I modified my parking. You have to run, if you do this, you have to run an LED so it fits because the standard 1157 bulbs don't. But I swapped out the back of this so it's a dual filament. I just notched a little holder there because the dual filament holder has little prongs on the side that have to be keyed in. So there you go, the dual filament, because the stock is just single. So it's just a parking light, but now it's going to act just like a turn signal. You can do the modification where it ties into your turn signal, but it's because if you just have that single wire directly hooked up that turns that blinker on, it's going to be off when your lights are on. It defeats the purpose of a parking, but now it's going to act like a turn signal. So it's going to be on when my lights are on, and then it's going to blink accordingly. And then all I did with the bulb, the 1157 bulbs are a little offset, just ground that down. Once I get everything all wired up, depending on whichever LEDs turn on, then I'll just swap it around. Luckily, I had a spare harness laying around. Just took the dual filament. But I mean, you can find 1157 bulb holders on eBay for like $5. Take those back shells, just swap them in here, and I just use my Dremel to modify that. See, one's bigger than the other here. I just hope everything works with the wiring. I'll figure out soon. Really, the front end is done. I mean, all my charging shit's taken care of. Now I just have to worry about my injectors, my coils. So I'm running coil over plugs here. These are LQ9 coils, or truck coils if you will. These are from a 2003 to 2004 GMC Yukon XL. So they were, I think, $40 with the coils and my pigtails. So you got all these. And these little mounting plates here, these are SRS mounting plates. I think it was like $70 from eBay. And I shaved these down a little bit so I can get proper, so these things don't wiggle at all. But either way, I just took them down just so I can get a little bit more stretch out of that plate so it holds these coils down a little bit more. I took each little spacer in between the plate, the actual cylinder head, and I just shortened them out by like 3 millimeters. And this is not the solution for my exhaust, it's just, but what I am gonna do with the exhaust, I'm gonna try to retain this as much as possible. I bought these pie cuts off eBay, you know, 2 sets of them, so they're 90 degrees. They come in sets. I bought 2 of them for like 60 bucks. Pie cuts are already pre-made and everything, so I probably won't be using all these bad boys, but finally. And I had my drive shaft in. I went down to GRS in Salt Lake, told them what I needed. They just shortened it about 2.5 inches or so. Within a day, they had it done. Hooked it up. Very, very short drive shaft. I think it's I only measured, I think 25 inches or so. From the back end of the output shaft, the very tip, the closest tip of my flange. So everything's all mounted up. So up next, messing with all my gauge stuff, my headlight switches. Oh, this is what I had to do. One thing about the Speedway 12 circuit is it doesn't have a separate reverse circuit. I'm just using the fan circuit for my reverse switch. But yeah, boys, the wiring's getting there. One good thing about these engines is that it has the cam sensor and crank sensor, and together you can run full sequential. The main reason why I want to run sequential is that batch fire on a straight 6, 5 and 6 are going to be so much more hotter than the rest because, well, I'll give 5 and 6 a little bit more fuel so it doesn't lean out too much. No problems with running batch fire. I want to run sequential is that because I'm here and I'm already doing it all, why mess with all my mega squirt wiring again when I can just do it now, do it first, do it right. But yeah, that's pretty much it where I'm at with the 2J right now. Today, I'm just going to be messing with the interior because this guy's all taken care of. I'm still waiting for that little fuse holder for the sense on the alternator. That's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think. If there's anything that I have missed, please let me know. I appreciate it all.